All right, so we're diving deep today. And I think this one's really going to hit home for all you movie fans out there, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's that question we always grapple with. Should we let those reviews, those thumbs up or thumbs down, really dictate our movie choices?
Hmm.
Or could that lead us down a path where we miss out on some true gems?
Yeah.
Those movies that maybe didn't get the critical love, but are totally worth watching.
Yeah, like those hidden gems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to unpack today. Based on this excerpt, we've got it really digs into this whole dilemma and uses some really interesting movie examples to make its point.
It's a fascinating topic for sure. I mean, the power of reviews versus, that personal discovery.
Exactly.
It's something all movie lovers deal with.
Yeah. And right off the bat, the excerpt kind of lays out this central tension. Do reviews help us make smart choices about what to watch, or do they create some kind of bias, before we even hit play?
I think it's both. They can be informative, but they can also definitely shape our expectations.
Right. And that's where things can get tricky.
For sure.
So to illustrate this point, the excerpt jumps into this example of Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle. Now, I'm sure you've probably seen the Disney version, right?
Oh, yeah, the class.
The classic. So this Legend of the Jungle might have flown under the radar a bit, overshadowed by its Disney counterpart.
Right, right.
But here's the thing. The excerpt argues that Legend of the Jungle is actually a more faithful adaptation of Rudyard Kipling's original stories, the books.
Interesting.
It embraces a darker, more mature tone, which the author of the excerpt really dug.
I see. So it's playing with those expectations again, right?
Yeah.
We have this idea of Mowgli from the Disney film, and then this version comes along that's closer to the source material, but maybe not what people were expecting.
Exactly. And that brings up a really interesting point about adaptations in general.
Definitely.
Is the goal to perfectly recreate the book,
Right.
the play, whatever the source material is?
Right.
Or is there room for something totally new? A reimagining that takes liberties, but still captures the essence in a different way.
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, like take The Godfather, for instance.
Oh, yeah. Classic example.
It strayed pretty far from Mario Puzo's novel,
It did.
but it's considered a masterpiece, right?
Absolutely.
Or even Clueless, which is like a modern, witty take on Jane Austen's Emma.
Right. Totally different time period, but the core themes are still there.
Exactly. So I guess it comes down to what we as viewers are looking for. Are we after a faithful reproduction, or are we open to a fresh interpretation?
That's the key, and it probably varies depending on the movie, the source material.
Totally. And that's where personal taste really comes in.
Absolutely.
Now, the second movie the excerpt uses to illustrate this point is Memory. And apparently critics weren't too kind to it. They called the plot predictable, said it lacked emotional depth.
So not a hit with the reviewers.
Not really, but here's where it gets interesting. The author of the excerpt found Memory to be full of surprises, totally unexpected twists and turns.
Oh, wow. So a complete difference in perception.
Right, and I think this really highlights how subjective film criticism can be.
Absolutely.
Our own personal preferences,
Yeah.
what we expect going into a movie, even our mood at that moment.
Oh, for sure. Even like where you're watching it, if you're at home on the couch or in a theater.
Yeah, all of that can color how we experience a film.
It really can. I mean, have you ever just absolutely loved a movie that was totally panned by critics?
Oh, all the time.
Like you connected with it on some level and everyone else seemed to miss it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that happens to all of us. And it's a reminder that those reviews are just one perspective.
Right, and sometimes those are the movies that become our favorites.
Exactly, the ones that really speak to us personally.
The hidden gems.
Yes. And this brings up another worry the excerpt mentions, and it's a valid one. I think it's that fear of missing out on a good movie just because the reviews are bad.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, nobody wants to waste their time on a dud.
Right, so what do we do? How do we navigate this sea of reviews without letting them totally control our choices?
Well, I think instead of swearing off reviews altogether, we could try to become more critical consumers of them.
Okay, so like not taking them at face value.
Exactly. Like maybe instead of just looking at the aggregate score on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, we dig a little deeper, read some actual reviews from different critics.
So like exploring a range of opinions.
Yeah, because you might find critics whose tastes align with yours and whose opinions you trust more.
I like that. So it's about finding those critics who speak your language.
Exactly. And even understanding different schools of film criticism can help with that.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Well, there are all sorts of lenses through which critics analyze films, like auteur theory, where they focus on the director's vision and style,
Yeah.
Or feminist criticism, which looks at the portrayal of gender and power
Oh,
dynamics.
interesting.
Or even Marxist analysis, which examines the film's economic and social context.
Wow, so there's a whole world of film criticism beyond just thumbs up or thumbs down.
Exactly. And by understanding these different approaches, you might find critics who resonate with your own way of thinking about movies.
That's so cool. So it's like finding your tribe of film critics.
Exactly. And ultimately, I think it comes down to remembering that a review is just one person's opinion.
Right. It's not the be-all, end-all.
Exactly.
So for all of us movie enthusiasts out there, what's the takeaway here?
I think it's that reviews can be a useful tool, but we need to use them thoughtfully, be aware of their limitations and our own biases.
So don't let them completely dictate your watch list.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe the best movie experiences are the ones we stumble upon ourselves, the ones we wouldn't have found if we'd just followed the reviews.
That makes me think what hidden gems are out there just waiting to be discovered, you know?
Right.
So as you're scrolling through your watch list, maybe give a second look to a film you dismissed based on reviews.
You never know, you might just unearth a new favorite.
Happy watching, everyone.
Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show.